Hello, how can I help you today? You're looking to buy some cosplay supplies? Well, you definitely come to the right place then. This is the cosplay shop where we sell many different cosplay building supplies. What kind of cosplay are you looking to build? Yes, we've had a few other people looking to build that as well. Is this your first time building a costume? Okay, so you'll definitely want a few things to help make your job easier, and we'll have to get you hooked up with all the basics. Now, which version of that character are you planning to do? Okay, so you'll definitely be needing some actual building supplies. So why don't I run in the back room and grab some building supplies that I think you might be interested in, and I can bring them out here and tell you about them and what makes them good building supplies, and then you can decide which of them you think you'd like to take home. They are, of course, different prices, and they have different features about them, so I'll run through those with you, and you can just decide which ones you'd like, and then we can get you hooked up with anything else that you need, like paint or, anything kind of detail pieces that you might need. So just wait here a minute, I'll run back and grab a few cosplay building supplies. We can get you started on your fabulous new cosplay building journey. Okay. So one of the strongest ways to build a costume is to use thermoplastic. This one is called Wonderflex. We carry quite a large supply of this. This is standard Wonderflex. So on the back side, as you can see, it does have kind of a crosshatch of netting, which gives it additional strength, which makes it very good for building things. The one thing with the net is that you can't make any dome shapes. So you can curve it, but you can't do complex curves. So you can only curve it in one direction, essentially. So if you're looking to make domes, we do also carry another variety of this, which is Wonderflex Pro, which does not have the netting in it, so you can do those dome shapes, those complex curves. But any type of Wonderflex is good for a costume. It is a little bit more expensive than some of the other cosplay building materials, but it's very strong. So if you build a costume out of this, it pretty much lasts forever, unlike one if you do out of foam or cardboard, they're more liable to get damaged. This stuff is very strong, so what you trade up and paying a little more for it, you also get additional strength for it to last longer. Now this stuff here, it's also technically a type of thermoplastic, I guess you would say, but what it is, it's a fabric. It's known as Foss Shape. This is actually the same company that makes Wonderflex, and what you do with this is you can sew it into any shape, and then when you heat this up, it will harden and hold the shape that you've put it in. So this is really great. It's a little lighter than the thermoplastic, so that makes it kind of nice, and it has more of a fabric look to it. So if you want something that doesn't look too shiny and plasticky, this is really great. So it's good for making hats and stiff articles of clothing that you really want to look like fabric. We carry it in both the white and the black. And there's a couple different thicknesses of it too, so you can check out different thicknesses and see what works best for your particular costume. Again, this one's a little more expensive than some of the cheaper cosplay materials that we carry, but it's well worth the price because this stuff is really great. Like I say, when it's in its soft form, it's just like regular fabric, so you can cut it with regular scissors, run it through a regular sewing machine, or use a needle and thread, however you typically sew, and then as soon as you put that heat on it, it just forms that shape. The one thing you do want to watch for is it does shrink a little bit when you heat it up, so you want to make sure that whatever you're making is a little bigger than you need the finished product, because it will shrink down a little bit when you put the heat on it. Now, some of the less expensive cosplay building materials we carry, this is called Pellon, and this is a stiffener, and this works great for putting underneath different fabrics. So if you're making, like, say if you want to make some fake leather armor, you can just take some distressed fabric, wrap it around some Pellon, and it gives it that stiffness so that it looks like leather. But you know, this stuff is really inexpensive. It's just a few dollars for a yard of this. So Pellon is a good one to have. It is soft enough that you can sew through as well. So you can sew like your distressed fabric to it, or foil fabrics look great to make really lightweight, flexible, but shiny armor pieces. So you can make metallic armor pieces just with foil fabric and Pellon. This is a really, really good cosplay building material to have. So, and again, it's one of the lesser expensive ones. Now, probably the least expensive cosplay building material is EVA foam, sometimes known as craft foam or foamies, depending on the company that's selling it. It comes in several different thicknesses. This one is the 2mm, but we also carry it in 3mm and 5mm, so you'll find just the right thickness for whatever your particular project is. This one is an extremely inexpensive cosplay material. These sheets run from $1 to $2, sometimes $3 a piece, depending on the size and the thickness. But they're very, very inexpensive crafting mediums. They do come with a little more work. The benefit you're getting with the low price means that you have to do a little more work to make them strong, because obviously they are a little bit flimsy. So what you have to do with these is, once you have your project built, this is really easy to build with because you can just cut them and then glue them together, so they're very, very easy to build with. But once you have your project built, you need to coat it with several coats of glue, and that will give it strength and allow it to hold shape. And you also need to coat it with glue before you can put any paint on it, because otherwise the foam will just suck up the paint and it won't really look right. So you want to put glue on it, and it gives it a nice flat surface so the paint sits on top of it. So there is a little more work involved with this, but it's definitely budget friendly. So do any of these seem to fit your needs for building your cosplay? Okay, yep, we can get you some of that before you go. So in that case, what you're going to be needing next is, of course, paint. We carry a large selection of brushes, so whether you need fine tip, wide tip, soft bristles, stiff bristles, we carry them all. So our bristle station is over there. We have just hundreds of paintbrushes for you to choose from. And you can get sets of paintbrushes, you can purchase them individually, whatever you need. So we definitely have your paintbrushes covered. Now for paint, we carry a variety of types and colors. We have acrylic paint, and we have this in many different colors, all the colors of the rainbow. We have your neutrals, your browns, your blacks, your whites, your grays. We have a few beige colors. They don't get purchased very often, but sometimes someone wants a beige. We have, of course, we also have the varnishes that go over these when you're done, so that your costume is weatherproofed and protected from scratches and water and anything you might spill on it. So you definitely want to coat all of your costumes when you're done painting them. We also carry acrylic paints in a variety of metallics. Perfect ones for armor making are the gold and silver metallics, but we also have colored metallics. So we've got reds and blues and greens, and they've all got kind of a metallic sheen to them, which is always kind of fun. We carry chalk paint in a variety of colors, and this is kind of a fun paint because it gives it a really matte look, so it's a slightly different look than you would get with the acrylic. And another fun thing you can do with chalk paint is we carry what is known as crackle medium. You can lay that down underneath the chalk paint, under the top layer of chalk paint, and then paint over it, and it will crackle. So that's great if you're looking to make a piece that's kind of antiqued looking. So we carry this in a variety of colors. The crackle medium is clear, but the paint itself comes in pretty much any color you can need, colors and neutrals. We do carry oil paints. Not the most commonly used type of paint for cosplay because, well, for starters, these are very expensive, a little bit more difficult to use. They do have a more, I guess you'd almost say elegant look about them, a finished look, which is why occasionally we get someone who comes in wanting to buy oil paints for their cosplays, but for the most part, they're harder to get the hang of using. They're a little bit messier, and they are more expensive, so these are really something that you only want to use if you're really experienced in your painting, and as you said, this is your first cosplay, so you might not want to use these this time. Save those for a future cosplay. And finally, we do carry a wide color selection of model paints. We've got your colors, your neutrals, your golds and silvers, and they're enamel paints, so they're extremely vibrant and full coverage color. They sit beautifully. They look just, I mean, if you're going for something that looks metallic or, like processed, machined, whatever, you want something that doesn't look like you're painting cardboard or foam, these are definitely great. The one problem is you have to be constantly shaking these or they separate them, and they can do a number on your brushes. You have to have, we do carry the brush cleaner for these, and as soon as you're done painting with these, you want to wash out your brushes immediately with this special brush cleaner, otherwise you will ruin your brushes. So color is wonderful, but they are very difficult to use and they can ruin your brushes. So for your first costume, if you want a suggestion, I would suggest the acrylics because they are the easiest to use and they're also the least expensive. So. Now you said you wanted some fabric paints as well, so we do carry a large variety of many different types of fabric paint because, of course, being a cosplay shop, fabric paint is something that is greatly sought after. So we do carry the traditional little tubs of fabric paint. These are the neons, but we also have them in standard colors, as well as your neutrals and your golds and your silvers, your metallics. So we have a wide variety of just the classic in-tub fabric paints, but we have a few other things that you might find interesting as well. So these are fabric spray paints. These are non-aerosol, so they're a little different. It's not like a can of spray paint. What it is you just take the little cap off, and then you can hit the top of this, and depending on how far down you push it, you'll either get a spray, so it'd be like a finer mist of color, or if you only push it down halfway, then you get just a little, like thick globs of it. So depending on what look you're going for, these are great. I use these a lot myself for when I have to age a costume. Get like a brown or a black and just spray that over the costume to give it kind of an aged look. And it does really well too. And the nice thing about these is because they're non-aerosol, they're just filled with liquid fabric paint, which means you can refill these as well. If you buy in bulk a big thing of fabric paint, you can just unscrew the top here and dump that right in and refill your sprayers, and you can just keep right on using these. So that's the nice thing about these, and of course they're better for the environment because they're non-aerosol. So if that's something that's important to you, you might want to consider these. If you're not into painting, you just need like a small area, we also carry fabric markers. These are basically paint and a marker. And these are the brush tip. So it's a very nice pointed long tip. These are great for both coloring in large areas or for drawing. So anytime you need to draw designs on your costume, these are really great for that because it'll draw you just the nice flat design. These are, of course, because they're just markers, they create a flat design on your costume. So if you want something with a little more texture, I would suggest the 3D paints. So we carry both the large bottles and the small bottles of the puffy paint. If you plan to do a lot of puffy paint, I would recommend the large bottles. They're a much better value. But if you're only using a little bit, then of course we do carry the small bottles as well. The one thing with these is you don't want to let them get too cold, otherwise they harden. So you want to keep them at room temperature. You know, don't store them outside in your car when it's going to be 10 below, or it will ruin your puffy paint. We won't get into how I know that, but let's just say that that is what happens. They totally harden up and you can't use them. So just always keep your puffy paint at room temperature. These are great for not only drawing on fabric, which is what their original use is, but they're great for putting details on props as well, because you can draw your three-dimensional lines and then paint over them, and it looks like it's part of the prop design. So these work great for both fabric and props, so I highly recommend any cosplayer keep a few of these on hand. Alright, so we know what you wanted for cosplay building material. What did you want of the paint? What appealed to you most? The fabric spray paints? Okay, we'll grab a few of these for you. Our entire selection is back there, so why don't you just head back there and pick out the colors that you want. And then I'll take your thermoplastic up front and I will meet you up there, and you can check out and get home and get to making that first cosplay costume, okay? What convention are you going to, may I ask? Okay, so you've got a little bit of time to start working on that. That's smart. You always want to leave yourself plenty of time to make yourself your costume. Far too many of us wait till right before the convention to start making the costume, and then it's con crunch and it's crazy, but I think it's a little more enjoyable when you give yourself some time to make your costume, so that's good, thinking ahead. So yeah, why don't you head back there and pick out the exact colors you want, and then meet me back up there at the front desk and we'll get you checked out, okay? Okay.